Events are an easy cut.
Yeah.
They're a very easy cut. Now, they're a very easy cut unless what? Unless it's Dry's Pipeline, baby.
What's this thing you're holding in your hand here?
Okay, so this is a kind of what we're going to talk about today. So Georgina, if you're listening, this is a little shout out to you, but Georgina's a woman I met. She bought an exhibit house in, I believe, New Mexico, and I met her at EDPA, which is an industry event, and her and I have, we've had some good conversations when we were together. She put up this graph on LinkedIn, and it's from Exhibitor. It's basically, it's like a dollar bill, right, that essentially breaks out how exhibitors spend their dollar on trade shows, right? So here, if you want to read it, you can kind of read a little bit of what
I was about to ask. Okay.
Yeah, so like it's how their dollars get broken up based on them being surveyed. So they surveyed however many exhibitors and said, how does your dollar get broken up?
Got it. So 2% gets spent on measurement.
Yeah, super low.
6% gets spent on graphic design and production.
Yeah.
18% spent on show services. 11% on shipping.
There.
2% on other. 23% on buying the booth space.
Woof.
That's a lot.
Woof.
11% travel and lodging.
Yeah, that's fair.
16% on exhibit design and construction.
Should be higher.
I was waiting to see what you said there. 8% on marketing and promotion.
Yep.
And 3% on talent.
Got it. Cool. Okay. All right. So here's my thoughts on this. It's kind of like small picture, this exact, here are my thoughts. And then I'll go big picture on like where I think it takes my mind to of some of the issues in the industry.
Okay.
Some of the things that I think are plaguing event marketers. So number one is, when I look at this, the first thing I think about is 41% of an event marketer or a company's budget is being spent on to buy the booth space and the show services that they are required to have.
Yeah.
41% of their budget is going to just being there.
And that's the 23% booth space, 18% show services.
Yes. This is a massive problem. It has always been a problem. It continues to be a problem. It was a problem in 2015. It was a problem in 2019. It was a problem coming at, the only time it wasn't a problem was in 22 when companies had a ton of capital saved up and they needed to deploy it and they were just getting back to face-to-face events. 23, 24, 25, moving back. It is now and still is a big problem. I think she kind of gravitates a little bit to like my message because she doesn't come from the industry. She came into the industry. So she's like, yeah, I mean, a lot of this makes sense. The second thing I think about is design, build, marketing, and measure. If you are an executive at a company or you are a VP of marketing or a director of global events, like, you know that your events is not a show up just to be their style thing. Executives and companies want results. It's all anybody talks about. You're there to meet customers, meet prospects, build relationships, add pipeline, drive pipeline. So designing a great space, you obviously have to build it out. What you're doing to those customers and measuring what you're doing is how you drive results.
Yeah.
So we're at 32% compared to 41%. That's wild to me. That 41% doesn't even factor what I would consider to be like cost of doing business work, right? Like your travel and lodging is the cost of doing business for this stuff. That's 11%. So now you're at 52.
Yeah.
Your shipping is kind of the cost of doing business. If you
got to ship it.
Yeah, you have to ship it. So now you're at 63.
Yeah.
So it just seems, looking at this, that event marketers, the exhibit managers, these companies are handcuffed.
Yeah.
They're handcuffed. We have to remember, they are the driver of the ecosystem. When it comes to a trade show with a floor plan and exhibitors, without the exhibitors, there is no show.
Yeah. I guess my head goes to, you're a business operator. I'm a business operator. If I was to break this down into, let's contextualize this into a business case, right? I would say that the cost of showing up, well, you just said 42%, right? 41%. That essentially feels like, I'm trying to like think of this as like gross profit, operating costs. Sure. How would you break that down, right? Because it's like the cost of showing up is almost like those are your fixed costs of like office space or you're like booth at the mall or something like that.
I view it as a business, like when you say cost of doing business or operating expense, I think like healthcare.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? I think like insurance. It's like a must have. You have to do it.
But it's not, right? Because it's also like the channel, right? Like to me, it's like the storefront. Like you got to have a storefront if you're selling something, right? Like, so
it's way too high.
When I look at this, like, what do you pay in office space and what do you pay in percentage to your business?
I think it would be in relation to like a storefront or something like you're saying. Like, I agree. But I guess part of my thinking in this too is like, there's nothing in here for strategy.
Yeah.
There's nothing in here that is like saying that we're going to drive results. There's nothing here.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's interesting because it's a dollar bill.
Yeah.
Because it's the spending.
But
what about the dollar?
Graphic. Yeah.
But what about the dollar bills returning?
Yeah.
What about these companies can't just it's why exhibitor turnover is so high.
Yeah.
All of the data, all of the metrics year over year, exhibitor turnover is 30+%. So the shows are having to constantly fill. I just, I get it. Everyone's got to make their money, but like, I think my bigger picture thinking on this goes here, which is why I've been, like, I don't say how long I've been doing this for, right? Because that's just like a redundant statement, but talking to so many companies, doing so much work, why do so many companies treat their events like a cost of doing business? Like, just like we go because we have to go, this party planning. It almost feels like so many companies have too big of an event schedule, too much money spent, not enough strategy, not enough results, which then drives people into this, like, you have people that are just negative about the event. Oh, it's just this party. If salespeople don't want to contribute, it has this like negative aura around it. And what I'm trying to figure out from this is I feel like there's so many handcuffs on the event marketers that are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
This is a handcuff. The cost from the show contractors, the convention centers, the hotels, the show services, the company.
The show services piece is appalling, man. Like 18%, like getting charged like $2,000 to have Wi-Fi.
It's crazy.
Stuff like that is freaking nuts.
And those are all like backdoor relationships. I mean, don't even get me started on the tech companies that get in with the hotels and then they sneak into their contracts that you have to use them.
Correct.
And then they overcharge you and then you have to negotiate with them.
It's like a monopoly.
It's 100% a joke. It's the term racket gets used often. And frankly, it's like when you talk to people and you think about it, you're like, it's embarrassing almost. You know what I mean? Like just the way that it runs and the way it operates. But my point is, I talk a lot to event marketers about driving results, engaging the customer, because at the end of the day, that's how they're going to eventually keep their job. That's how they're going to be deemed valuable. Because if their value is just that they're planning and organizing and keeping it together, the variables around them to crush that are massive. Because at some point, someone's gonna be like, this doesn't really work. You're a great planner, but this doesn't work for us. So it's just my kind of juxtaposed positions here are the ecosystem would work absolute best. It's kind of like, I compare it to like politics and like America. People always say, like, when lower middle class America is doing well, everything does well. Everything does well. Now, how you get there, obviously complicated. We're not going to get into it today, but for the trade show, for this trade show circuit, for the associations, for everybody, for me, for the hotel, the contractors, for everybody, when exhibitors are doing well, they are going to throw dollars at the event and they're going to spend dollars everywhere. And that ecosystem is there. Now, the other part is that, making sure the attendees have what they need. But I just feel like the two big positions they're fighting against, event marketers, this is working against them. 41% going to just showing up does not allow you to spend enough to market yourself, enough to strategize, enough to engage, enough to deliver experience. And those are the things that drive your results. Right? And then the second thing that's putting pressure on them is just how many companies really get it. Right? How many companies are just ingrained? We go to all these events. Like, how many companies are truly setting up their event program like a sales and marketing channel? How many are in step, in tune with sales? How many have alignment from executives? How many are really driving true results? And their dollars being, so my point is, I don't have the answer, but there's a lot of there's a lot of speed bumps around
Yeah.
events.
It's unnecessarily difficult. It's unnecessarily difficult. I also think that if I look at this, if I think about it the other way, right, I see a big opportunity, right? Because at the end of the day, what you're saying is these constraints are very, very real.
Yeah.
And they're very difficult to deal with. And there is nothing in there that says strategy or anything like that. So for me, as an event marketer myself, I think, okay, this is where my value comes in. If I can make these numbers work, then I rule, right?
Yeah.
Like, but you have to be very aware of these are your numbers. You only have this much. As the event marketer, that then takes me into the space of, okay, so I know I'm going to spend, I would be doing the calculation like we're just talking, and trust me, I'm going to do this calculation now of like, if I was thinking of this as a business, what are my costs of goods sold? What are my fixed costs? What are my variable costs here? And then where's my gross profit need to come from? And I'm going to reverse it from my sale. And I'm going to think about it that way. And then I'm going to set a strategy like you talk about in order to meet those expectations. Because at the end of the day, if those numbers have just shown up, we're assuming a fixed number of just showing up, right? Like you're going to have the booth costs, you're going to have the BS event services, there's going to be shipping, there's going to be travel. But if you can create an equation where you think that you're going to have a certain type of windfall, if you can like back into those numbers, have a strategy and paint that picture, then those numbers can become a smaller part of the spend if your company allows you to spend much more, right? So like that's the first place I'd go. But that doesn't solve for the idea. I think fundamentally, when you're talking about events and companies being unsophisticated about events, it reminds me of a conversation I had with our friend Jerry, which is most entrepreneurs, when they start their business, they are unsophisticated about go-to-market.
For sure.
Like they will pay to go to events and network and do these things because they're afraid of creating a repeatable market to sales, to close, to customer success model. Sure. Yeah. And it just kind of like filters upwards, right? So like, I think both parts need to happen. And as the event marketer, I see the opportunity in knowing those numbers. So then therefore I need to engineer a strategy that feeds real numbers. Yeah. And then B, I can also be the person that brings sophistication of go-to-market into my company.
Yeah. You know, one thing I'm trying to hold to a few thoughts here, but one thing I am like thinking is I think that events as a standalone thing, they work.
Yeah.
Getting people together, customers, prospects, suppliers, partners, whatever it is in that space, consumers, like everybody that has something to do with an industry, a vertical, whatever it is, like getting everybody together for a couple of days in one place. It's like, it works.
It works. Yeah.
It undeniably works. Yeah. And I think the event world rode that for so long and it's gotten so stale and so unsophisticated and so inventive and so just like keep beating that drum as hard as you can because the event will always work. Yeah. It's similar in like expanding cities where you have a neighborhood that is centrally located. It's older, but it's a great neighborhood. The value will stay always. But
the price of the homes are going to continue to go up.
And but what happens is sometimes in those neighborhoods, people just like take it for granted and they let the neighborhood go a little bit because they're like, oh, it's so valuable. Events are kind of the same way. Yeah. And I think that somewhere along the way, everybody has really forgotten the contractors, the hotels, the technology partners, the planners, the flooring people, the exhibit people, the graphic, every single body in there has forgotten that all that matters is the attendee and the sponsor exhibitors. That's what matters. And what matters is driving them max value, because when they are driven max value, events thrive.
Yeah.
And I think we've really gotten away from that focus. Like, does the way show services are billed or the way a show is run, like, has anybody, like, you ever been in like a marshalling yard at a big trade show? It's a fucking joke. Has no one thought this through? Has no one is no one putting technology or AI behind it? Like what, like the wait times, the truck, the lost freight, the damaged freight, it's such bullshit. Yeah. The same thing with technique. You have a video wall that's up on the screen. It's like, oh, that was $40,000. $40,000? Yeah. That's crazy. How is that $40,000 returning or driving value in any way, shape, or form to that exhibitor or to those attendees.
Yeah.
I think our whole industry has to start realizing that we are supplying shit and that we are not driving a huge value, the entire industry.
Yeah.
So from the way events are run, to the way that they're formatted, to the way that they are operated behind closed doors, like my eyes, the whole thing has to get better, because there's these constant pushing where it's hard to drive results. It's hard to find good events. There's high turnover in this. And I think the whole thing holding the glue together is that people want to be in person.
Yeah.
People want to be in person together, experiencing things together.
Yeah.
And there's a big max value to that. I am concerned, like this stat right here, I'd be willing to bet if you went into exhibitor and went into every single year that they've done a similar thing like this, I'll bet you these numbers are identical. Like I'd be willing to bet that these numbers are within 5 to 10% of each other for the last 20 years.
Yeah. What pushes those numbers up though, right? Like I have to think that there's some level of cost of construction for an event space.
Yeah.
In, like whatever, like hotels aren't getting cheaper to build, right? Like inflation and whatever. Cost of labor in these places that need to support it is part of it. There is comparisons of past pricing, right? Like there's already, has the cost of sponsorship for a certain size event gone up in the last 10 years? Like I feel like it's always been $5,000, $10,000, right? So like,
I don't know. There's some pretty high.
Depending on size,
people,
right? Like,
so
what I guess what I'm saying is I feel like what you were pointing out is like a giant opportunity from everybody from like the venue builder, like
everybody,
like the venue, the logistics person, the contractor that can sell event services inside of a space, like creating win-win kind of like methodologies of these like hidden costs. I don't think we're going to be able to do much about shipping. I feel like shipping is pretty effective these days, right? Like that is what it is. They can work with an exhibit house that understands how to reduce cost of shipping and things of that sort. But I think at the end of the day, the event marketer still has the highest lever, still has the most powerful level, which is if I know my strategy, if I know what I'm trying to reverse engineer from a goal, and I can tell a story to do this, to make it, all I have to do is fit the story into this budget that makes these numbers work.
I think it more so just feels to me like there is a real lack of innovation in our industry. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I think that spreads around to everybody.
Yeah.
It's not just the general contractors or the venues or the hotels, which everyone likes to point to. It's everybody.
Yeah.
And I think there are some companies that have really done a great job. But like I said, at the end of the day, the innovation that we are doing needs to come down to driving value for the exhibitor and the attendees, because if they don't have value, these events stall. Everything is dependent on attendees, demand to attend, full flushed out events, exhibitors and sponsors that are willing to pay because they can get the return for being face to face and having the chance to engage. And that to me is just the ecosystem. Like we spend, we're not just like building exhibits and just hammering people with costs and being like, oh yeah, you need it, so here you go. We are constantly thinking like, how can we improve their experience or drive them more value? In which vertical? How can we help them? And I just think everyone needs to be thinking it. Everyone. And I'm not saying that people are not. I'm saying in a whole, I think there is a real lack of innovation. If you start looking around other industries, I think that, and I just think our industry's gotten away with it for a long time because events work. They work just because they do, because of what they are.
Yeah. And they feel good, right? Like they just,
of course they do, man. People love to get together.
You go home on a high, and then you look back at your budget and like, we didn't make this back. But like you left feeling good.
It takes you out of your day to day. It gets you away. It gets you into other conversations, seeing what else is out there. There's so much good experiencing with people. Relationships are forged. Like there's a lot of really great things that happen. Education in person is different than education online. Yeah, I just think that I see a lot of what people are asking for and what people want. ROI. Everyone wants to talk about ROI and measurement, but no one's looking at these conflicting pressures that are just pushing around on it. And even myself, right? I mean, even myself talking about, how many people in my space I've talked to where they are like, we have these great ideas or these engagements or these things, but the customer can't afford it. Why can't they afford it? Well, because A, their dollars are going to the wrong place. B, because probably their executives or their company don't deploy the right amount of capital because they're doing too many shows, too much blanket stuff, too much, the money's too spread around. So they're like just doing just enough at each event, which then doesn't drive results because not all events are creating. There's so many different pressures that are going on. And then I think from the outside standpoint, everybody just needs to be trying to, like I said, that ecosystem. It's like in America, when low and mid class are doing well, the country is doing well. And I think it's the same thing for trade shows, right?
Yeah, I agree, man. I'll tell you that you just kind of sold yourself short on this idea that like you're not doing enough, but I can tell you that what's working for me as an event marketer, I came in from outside the industry.
Yeah,
my education has been 100% based on the things that you talk about and the things that I talked about on the show. And because of that, I also think I'm a better marketer than most.
Yeah, you do.
And like studying category design and all that stuff. Yeah. But like everything, as you say, all these ills, I feel like I don't suffer from a lot of this because I've come in based on the principles that are shared on this show and the principles that I've learned from you as an operator, which is my customer isn't the final customer. It's my customer's customer is the final customer, which is what I'm hearing in your voice is that we need to inject that into the ecosystem of thinking through like a couple layers down of how this affects sound feel of like who's footing the bill and, being very guarded on things that aren't driving results.
So think about it, like CES is coming up and I'm curious, CES will often dictate a lot of like the outlook for the year, and CES show wise is like, it's powered by the idea that it's an event and a get together, but it's powered by currently the most important thing and probably been the most important thing for the last however long, technology.
Yeah.
Right. That's what's so, but if you take a show that doesn't have that, like that CES show can thrive without it because the technology aspect is so important moving forward for companies, partnerships, relationships, what's new. It's so important along with the being in person that it can thrive. But you take an event that's not as important. That's a smaller sector. That's not as big.
Yeah.
If you are not driving that value I'm talking about to attendees and exhibitors and sponsors and rethinking the event and rethinking cost structures for show services and booth space charges, it's like, I'm just wondering like how expensive is it to have a 30-40% exhibitor turnover rate every single year?
Yeah.
How expensive is that?
Yeah.
What if you had a 10% rate where the show was full and then the show was so good that you're then having to turn people away or you have to expand the show? Then you could probably go to people and say, hey, I know I was charging you $30,000 for that space. This year it's going to be 40, but we've also expanded the space and we have 2 rooms now. This is the main hall for the people that are OGs. This is the old hall. Like you have so much more options to grow and build business and raise prices and do things the right way because it's value driven versus when you're fighting from your back and you're like, oh, well, we got to replace 30% of exhibitors. Well, you do that because the show sucks.
Yeah. Because
the show's too expensive, because you're not driving enough value, because sponsors and exhibitors don't feel the need to be there because they don't get a return. Attendees aren't getting a good enough experience. So to me, it just all comes back to that. And it's like, how do we do that? How do we make it easier? It's a bad example. Look at Uber. What did Uber do? Right? It took the taxi and travel world and flipped it on its head.
Yep.
It made it what? More efficient, lower cost, simpler, easy to use, less you and I are old enough to remember what it was like trying to call a cab. What a freaking nightmare.
My mother-in-law was 45 minutes late to my wedding because she tried to call a cab in Miami.
Wild. Right? So so I'm saying like, I know it's a drastic example, but that is the kind of thinking that I think is required in the event world.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it from the billion-dollar companies in our industry.
Yeah.
I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah. So what's the takeaway here, Matt? Is this if I'm an event marketer listening to the show right now, is this like a forward this to my venue, my favorite venue person or my favorite event organizer, or is this something that I can apply myself if I'm an event
I don't think so. I think more for an event marketer, maybe this is just a little bit of affirmation of what's going on around them.
Yeah.
It is hard for them. There are so many things outside of their controls. I think what is inside of their control is getting executive buy-in at their company. Can almost guarantee you do too many events.
Yep.
Your spend is too spread out. You don't drive enough results, and you don't have perfect alignment from executives to sales to marketing to events. And that is a focus. So if you're fortunate to be somewhere where you have leadership that will listen to you, I think that's the conversation that you push. Yeah. You know, it's like your job's not in jeopardy for less events.
Yeah.
Your job's in jeopardy long term because when things start to slide, and the economy always does, the economy comes for every sector. Yeah. It comes for every single business and industry at some point in time or another via politics, geopolitics, whatever it is, it comes for you. And events are an easy cut.
Yeah.
They're a very easy cut. Now, they're a very easy cut unless what? Unless it drives pipeline, baby. If it drives pipeline, new pipeline, strengthens current customer relationships, and is a staple of getting contracts signed, merger and acquisition, if it creates that movement, if it moves that financial needle for your company, then it's not on the chopping block. You'd be like, we'd be fucking crazy to not go to this show, even though we're cutting back. I'm going to cut back there. Yeah. I'm not going to cut there. Yeah. But when it's a wet blanket over freaking too many shows just because you've been doing it for so long and there's a lack, that is where I think you can't control some of the stuff I'm talking about. I can't control some of the stuff I'm talking about. There's not enough people. There's too many associations in our industry not having enough joint conversations, getting nowhere because they all have different incentives and they all have different purposes. It's very difficult right now. Yeah. But there are some good people trying to have those conversations. But for the event marketer, I think it's control what you can control. Yeah. Get that alignment internally in your company. Yeah. Go there with the mature, professional business conversation of like, hey, I want to move the needle at events. I need proper budgeting, which means I probably need less events to pull money into certain events that will drive results. And I want to be a part of pipeline. If anybody in your company is telling you that they want to be a part of pipeline and they want to be a part of driving results, that's a winner right there.
The boss is going to want to listen. I would walk into the room armed with these numbers that you're just putting out there right now, and then reverse engineer it into like, let's drive pipeline. How do we reverse engineer pipeline into these numbers? Yeah. Go have that conversation and like know that you're not alone. This is like an endemic thing in the industry.
Hard out in these streets.
Yeah, it's hard. Yep. It's hard out there. All right, cool.